Hello everyone, I am back with another Dead by Daylight video. The Skull Merchant has been out for nearly a week now. Since her release, I have spent my entire time on my live stream playing her exclusively to the tune of approximately 14 hours of total gameplay. Before I place her on the tier list that I created, I'd like to offer up my overall thoughts. I suppose the best place to start is to discuss 3-gen scenarios. If you're unfamiliar with what it means to 3-gen, it's when there's one generator left for the survivors to finish, giving them 3 total on the map available to be done, and those 3 generators are in close proximity to each other, making it very easy for the killer to patrol them. This situation can happen in a couple of ways. Survivors can do gens on only one side of the map. That can lead to a 3-gen. There are perks like Detective's Hunch and Deja Vu that can help prevent this, as well as bringing a map. You usually see survivor-created 3-gens in solo queue. The other way that you can end up with a 3-gen is if the killer plays into it. That means the killer brought specific perks, maybe add-ons, and loaded into the game with the intent to seek out 3 generators close to each other and do nothing but patrol them. They won't ever chase you too far away from those 3 gens, and they may not even get a single hook until there's 1 generator left to do. Everyone out there is saying that the Skull Merchant is the best at holding a 3-gen. I think that's a major misconception and straight up wrong. Any killer is capable of holding a 3-gen. The reason why you don't see your higher tier killers holding a 3-gen is simply because, well, they don't have to. They have chase abilities that allow them to down survivors quickly. You could even argue that a higher tier killer could hold a 3-gen better than the Skull Merchant because of their ability to more quickly down survivors. So, where does this leave me feeling about the Skull Merchant? I set out to play the Skull Merchant in the most quote-unquote ethical way possible while purposefully never playing to a 3-gen. When I say ethical, I mean no camping or tunneling, and trying to play as fair as possible, as governed by that invisible rulebook that exists within Dead by Daylight. I also avoided bringing a loadout full of slowdown perks. I tried a vast amount of perk combinations while exploring all of her different add-ons and synergies. As hard as I tried to avoid a 3-gen scenario, it was very difficult most times. I will say that when you play her, it can take a long time to get going. Think Myers or Trapper. This is due to her design. In most games, I gave up 3 generators before I felt like I was even an integral part of the game. At that point, there are 4 generators left on the map, and the Skull Merchant has 4 drones. This is where you start to see success. Again, this is just a byproduct of her design. Her drone-related add-ons are actually pretty decent. Speaking of the Skull Merchant's add-ons, I can also say that I saw very little to no value in any of her claw trap-related add-ons, and I found myself skipping over them the more that I played her. I'm not saying that there's not a place for them, I'm not saying that you're never going to see value from them, just in my experience, the amount of value that I was able to get from them didn't make them worth using. Also, still focusing on her add-ons, and I touch on this in my PTB video of the Skull Merchant, if you choose to try to use her drones in a chase, she does have 2 purple add-ons, Geographical Readout and Randomized Strobes. These add-ons respectively give the Skull Merchant a haste effect and survivors a hindered effect while within an active drone zone. Obviously, if you're faster and they're slower, that's going to help you. You can check out that initial PTB video if you want my more in-depth opinion as to why this isn't very viable in the long run. The survivor sees you place a drone and they just W key away from the loop. Also, you suffer from add-on availability, stopping you from running that build constantly. I have had my most success with an Impossible Skill Checks build that I featured in my last video. Even that could be considered a gimmicky build that only works under special circumstances that you have to force. Lastly, we haven't really talked about maps. In my experiences, the Skull Merchant is her most effective on smaller maps. Think Shelter Woods, Wrecker's Yard, Coal Tower, for example, and also your multi-floor indoor maps like The Game or Midwich. The reason why the indoor maps are so effective is because the drone's active radius will go below you if you're on the top floor, and it will go above you if you're on the bottom floor. So for example, if you see a generator on below you, you can drop a drone and the zone will appear below you, and if the survivors want to get rid of it, they have to go all the way upstairs to get rid of the drone. If you find yourself on a large map, such as Mother's Dwelling or Mount Ormond, there's really no ethical strategy in which you're going to come out on top. Even if you play into a 3-gen, maps such as those are so large that you'd be hard-pressed to have close enough proximity. A 3-gen strategy on those maps is only really going to ensure a drawn-out match that you're probably going to lose. And really, who wants to play a match for 45 minutes to an hour even to win? It's nobody. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Where do I rate her on the tier list that I created? Based on everything I just talked about, I'd place her firmly in the C tier behind the Knight. Yes, I know the Skull Merchant has an add-on pair that can make her stronger, but that availability is limited. I mentioned an impossible skill check build that also makes her feel stronger, but that can be countered by not having the map offerings available to you, or even a sack ward being burned, or another map. In addition to all of that, you can find yourself on a small map that makes you feel like you're slaying. All of these things, however, are niche circumstances, and that's just not how tier lists work. I'd be discrediting my tier list if I created it that way. So, there you go. This is my official tier list as of patch 6.6.0, now including the new Tools of Torment chapter and the Skull Merchant Killer. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to drop that like, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content, and hit that bell to be notified when new stuff comes out. As always, please let me know what you think in the comments. Until then, I hope you all have fun in the fog, and we'll see you in the next one.